Welcome, comrades, to the art of cinema. I am Colonel T, Minister of Propaganda of the People's Republic of F.
And I am your glorious leader, General Secretary F, to whom all in the People's Republic of F submit, to whom you bow the knee, to whom you defer. Born with keen power of observation, your glorious leader, General Secretary F, is faithful to his revolution and leads the people. Your glorious leader, General Secretary F, has a slim figure, thick and firm legs, and runs fast in an upright position even in a mountainous area. My eyes are rather small and look tense. Clever and nimble, your glorious leader, General Secretary F, fights his opponents to the last.
On the art of cinema today, we'll expound upon your choice for the number one film of the 1990s, sir.
That's correct, Colonel. That film is The Big Lebowski, the entirely unique and extremely funny film by Ethan and Joel Coen.
In the opening sequence of the film, Sam Elliott narrates. Sam Elliott comes from a different time and place. The gunslinging, cowboys and Indians Old West. Yet Sam Elliott arrives in Los Angeles in 1990. How, and for what reason we don't yet know. But Sam Elliott introduces Jeff Bridges, the main character. Though the two have never met, Sam Elliott is somehow aware of everything that's going on in Jeff Bridges' life. Sam Elliott presents Jeff Bridges to us not as a hero, but as the man for his time and place in Los Angeles at the start of the 1990s. He also tells us that Jeff Bridges is quite possibly the laziest man in L.A. County. That's the last we'll hear from Sam Elliott for a while, but he'll be back.
Yeah, I don't actually watch a lot of movies, Colonel, because I'm so preoccupied with ideology. But I've seen The Big Lebowski. Let me explain something. Ethan and Joel Coen make Americana. So the settings of their films, the times and the places in American history that they portray, are essentially characters in their own right. So it is with The Big Lebowski. The Los Angeles of the early 90s is itself a character here. The aged hippie, the Reagan-type conservatives, the porn industry, the breathtaking Pacific coastline, and LA Valley together with the city that's the plastic capital of the world. This story could not have happened in any other time or place.
We first see Jeff Bridges at the grocery store, shopping in his bathrobe for a carton of half and half so he can make White Russians. Jeff Bridges arrives back home, but when he walks in, there are two thugs waiting for him. It's a shakedown, sir. The thugs think that Jeff Bridges is married to Tara Reid, and that he has money that belongs to their boss, Ben Gazzara.
Oh, Tara Reid from Sharknado.
But Jeff Bridges tells them he's not married, that they've got the wrong Jeff Bridges. It occurs to the thugs that the Jeff Bridges they're looking for is a millionaire, so this Jeff Bridges, in his small dingy apartment, can't be the right guy. So the thugs leave, but in their attempt to intimidate Jeff Bridges, one of them had urinated on his rug and ruined it.
Jeff Bridges is unemployed in the film. How can he afford to live in L.A.? This had not occurred to me. How can he afford all the pot, the White Russians? How can he afford to spend all of his time bowling? It's not clear, but I like it. You see, Colonel, The Big Lebowski presents us with an American image of the utopia, or heaven, as the Americans would put it. Jeff Bridges' L.A. is paradise. The easygoing life of leisure he leads is the ideal of many single, unambitious American men. Historically, making it out to the West Coast was the goal of the United States. As it grew and developed in all its manifest destiny, capitalist imperialist fraudulency. So, L.A. in the film is heaven, and everyone is there. The progressive hippies, the conservative veterans and the capitalists, the Christians and the Jews and the nihilists, they all made it to heaven. Now, of course, this American notion of heaven is all wrong. This is not the utopia. This is not the workers' paradise. The bourgeoisie have not been brought down. The proletariat have not established their communal dictatorship. But even so, it's heartening to see that even the backwards regressive Americans yearn for a paradise at the end of history.
Next, Jeff Bridges is at the alley for practice with his bowling team, which also includes John Goodman and Steve Buscemi. Jeff Bridges is an aged, burned-out hippie. John Goodman, on the other hand, is a Vietnam veteran and a loud-mouthed reactionary. So Jeff Bridges and John Goodman ought to be enemies, or at least socially and temperamentally incompatible, but they're good friends. The Big Lebowski is a buddy movie about them. So Jeff Bridges tells John Goodman about the thugs who peed on his rug. John Goodman suggests that he find the other Jeff Bridges, the millionaire, and ask the other Jeff Bridges to compensate him for the rug.
In the People's Republic of F, bowling plays a very important role in consolidating the national strength, adding luster to the country's prestige and honor, inspiring people with national dignity and pride, and imbuing the whole society with a revolutionary mettle. That's what bowling does.
Jeff Bridges visits the Pasadena mansion where the other Jeff Bridges lives. The millionaire Jeff Bridges is the Big Lebowski of the film's title. But before he meets with the Big Lebowski, Jeff Bridges talks to Philip Seymour Hoffman, who's very funny as an obsequious butler to the Big Lebowski.
Philip Seymour Hoffman is the Smithers to the Big Lebowski's Mr. Burns, then.
Yes, sir.
Philip Seymour Hoffman is the Colonel T to the Big Lebowski's General Secretary F.
When Jeff Bridges meets with the Big Lebowski, however, the wealthy man refuses to compensate him for the rug and chides him, berates him, reprimands him for his bohemian lifestyle. "Your revolution is over, Jeff Bridges. Condolences. The bum's lost," says the Big Lebowski. But as Jeff Bridges leaves, he tells Philip Seymour Hoffman that the Big Lebowski told him to take any rug in the house. So Jeff Bridges gets his rug back. On the way out, Jeff Bridges meets Tara Reid, the Big Lebowski's young trophy wife, by the swimming pool outside. Before long, Philip Seymour Hoffman calls Jeff Bridges and asks him to come back to Pasadena to see the Big Lebowski again. It's not because they're upset that Jeff Bridges took the Big Lebowski's rug. It's because Tara Reid, the Big Lebowski's young trophy wife, has been kidnapped. The kidnappers have demanded a $1 million ransom, and the Big Lebowski offers Jeff Bridges $20,000 to deliver the ransom, because he thinks the kidnappers might be the same thugs who peed on Jeff Bridges' rug. If so, Jeff Bridges might be able to identify the kidnappers when he hands off the ransom. He thinks the carpet pissers did this? Jeff Bridges asks Philip Seymour Hoffman. "Well, Jeff Bridges, we just don't know," Philip Seymour Hoffman replies.
So a detective story has been set up here. The Big Lebowski is a satire of The Big Sleep, Colonel. The Big Sleep is Raymond Chandler's detective story featuring Philip Marlowe, the stoic detective. But in The Big Lebowski, it's an aging pothead who'll have to solve the case.
Next comes a scene that introduces us to John Turturro to the tune of the Gypsy Kings cover of Hotel California. John Turturro is the arch enemy to Jeff Bridges' bowling team. John Turturro's team is going to be hard for Jeff Bridges, John Goodman, and Steve Buscemi to beat in the tournament they're currently competing in. The John Turturro part of the story has nothing to do with the plot of the film, but it's one of the funniest parts of a very funny movie.
Colonel, in the United States, humorous films don't get the same respect that serious dramas do. And I'd say the Americans are onto something here. You see, you're either part of the revolution or you're part of the problem. There is no neutral position. But humor tries to assert a neutral position. A humorous film is not defiant or progressive. It says to us, everything is fine, let's just laugh about it. But everything is not fine, Colonel. The United States has not achieved socioeconomic equity. The Americans have not yet taken up the revolution. What is there to laugh about? However, I lost my train of thought there. Anyway, I make an exception in the case of the Big Lebowski. As I've explained, Colonel, the Coens depict the closest thing to the utopia that the Americans can imagine. But the Coens get it all wrong. Where are the farms and factories that belong not to some rich oppressor, but to the people? Where are the soldiers marching in rank and file to protect the revolution from American interference? Where is their glorious leader? So the fact is that we should laugh at this American notion of paradise. We should laugh at the Americans, Colonel, and The Big Lebowski makes us laugh like no other film. That's why The Big Lebowski is not just my favorite American film of the 1990s, but my favorite of all American films.
Jeff Bridges doesn't buy this kidnapping story, however, sir. Rug peers did not do this, he tells John Goodman. The thugs who broke into his apartment did not kidnap Tara Reid. It's all a fake. Jeff Bridges thinks that Tara Reid has faked her own kidnapping in a brazen act of extortion against her sugar daddy husband. John Goodman is sure that Jeff Bridges is right. 100% sure, in fact, for John Goodman's convictions are absolute.
Yes, John Goodman's thinking is dogmatic, myopic, intransigent. It's a shame that he's conservative, then. John Goodman's unquestioned certainties would make him a good revolutionary if he devote them to progress and not to his backwards regressivism.
Another character is introduced. The plot thickens, sir. Julianne Moore is the Big Lebowski's daughter, and the rug that Jeff Bridges took from his mansion was a gift from Julianne Moore to her late mother. So she breaks into Jeff Bridges' apartment with two thugs of her own, who knock Jeff Bridges out so that Julianne Moore can take the rug back. When Jeff Bridges wakes up, the pager that Philip Seymour Hoffman gave him is beeping. The Big Lebowski has received instructions from the kidnappers about handing off the ransom and getting Tara Reid back. So Jeff Bridges goes to the Big Lebowski's mansion and gets a briefcase full of money and a mobile phone. Then he and John Goodman drive out to make the handoff. But John Goodman, being 100% sure that the kidnapping is a hoax, intends for them to keep the $1 million ransom, and at the handoff to grab one of the kidnappers and beat information out of him about Tara Reid's whereabouts. John Goodman's plan, which, according to Jeff Bridges, is a Swiss fucking watch, fails spectacularly. The kidnappers get away, Jeff Bridges still has the briefcase full of money, and Tara Reid is still kidnapped.
Colonel, consider this photograph of our planet, taken from behind the planet Saturn at a distance of almost 1 billion miles. When you see the Earth from this distance, when you see how tiny our planet is and the vastness of space, it puts everything into perspective. It becomes immediately obvious that the ideology created by the bourgeoisie to restrict ownership of private property must be deconstructed. That's what I get when I look at this photo of our planet.
Absolutely, sir.
When you consider our planet's insignificant place in the cosmos, bourgeois sympathies are stripped away as you're forced to acknowledge that conscious experts must problematize and decodify structures of capitalist imperialist power.
That's really something, sir.
Right. Anyway, you were saying that John Goodman really screwed up the handoff with the kidnappers and they didn't get Tara Reid back?
Yes, sir. Jeff Bridges is infuriated that John Goodman has derailed things so badly. They're going to kill that poor woman, he keeps saying, and he won't even answer the phone when Philip Seymour Hoffman calls to find out what's happened at the handoff. Then, after bowling practice, Jeff Bridges goes out to the parking lot to see that his car has been stolen. The $1 million ransom was in the trunk. Julianne Moore calls Jeff Bridges and has him come to see her. Julianne Moore shows Jeff Bridges a scene from one of Tara Reid's movies. Tara Reid is a porn star making movies for Ben Gazzara's company, and Tara Reid owes Ben Gazzara a good deal of money. So Julianne Moore has come to roughly the same conclusion about the kidnapping that John Goodman did. She thinks Tara Reid staged the kidnapping to embezzle the $1 million from the Big Lebowski, her sugar daddy husband, so that she could pay Ben Gazzara back. Julianne Moore knows that Jeff Bridges acted as courier to deliver the ransom money to the kidnappers, but Julianne Moore doesn't know that thanks to John Goodman, the handoff was a bust and Jeff Bridges kept the money, only to lose it when his car got stolen. So Julianne Moore tells Jeff Bridges that if he recovers the ransom money from the kidnappers and returns it to her, she'll let him keep $100,000 of it. That money will allow Jeff Bridges to buy any number of replacement rugs for his apartment.
Colonel, in the People's Republic of F, this problem wouldn't even have come up. We don't have this antiquated money system in our economy. Take Ben Gazzara's dirty movies. In the PRF, they'd be the dirty movies of the people. We'd take from Ben Gazzara according to his dirty movies and give to the people according to their need of dirty movies.
The Big Lebowski catches up to Jeff Bridges and demands that he explain why the kidnappers didn't get the ransom money. Jeff Bridges tells him that Tara Reid kidnapped herself and kept the money, but Philip Seymour Hoffman gives Jeff Bridges an envelope they'd received from the kidnappers that morning containing one of Tara Reid's amputated toes. It appears that the kidnapping actually occurred and that the kidnappers are torturing Tara Reid, turning the screws on the Big Lebowski to make him pay up. So the Big Lebowski tells Jeff Bridges that because Jeff Bridges has stolen the ransom money, he's instructed the kidnappers to recover it from Jeff Bridges. Then the kidnappers, who incidentally are nihilists and a former German techno-pop band called Autobahn, and also one of them is Tara Reid's co-star in one of her porn films, they break into Jeff Bridges' apartment and threaten to castrate him if he doesn't deliver the money to them. Ben Gazzara, the pornographer Tara Reid works for, has his thugs bring Jeff Bridges to him and makes his own threats. Ben Gazzara wants the ransom money too, because Tara Reid only embezzled it to pay off her sizable debt to him. So the Big Lebowski, the kidnappers, and Ben Gazzara and his thugs are all after Jeff Bridges to get $1 million ransom from him that he doesn't have. Jeff Bridges is at the low point of the story then. He tells John Goodman, "My only hope is that the Big Lebowski kills me before the Germans cut my dick off." But it's at this point that Sam Elliott shows up at the bowling alley and offers Jeff Bridges some encouragement.
Sam Elliott bestows a blessing on Jeff Bridges, you might say. Sam Elliott seems to be a guardian angel for Jeff Bridges' character. Sam Elliott watches over Jeff Bridges. Sam Elliott knows everything that's going on in Jeff Bridges' life, even though Jeff Bridges has never met him before the story took place and hasn't told him anything. And it's after Sam Elliott shows up at the bowling alley and encourages Jeff Bridges that things start to turn around, and Jeff Bridges starts to solve the case and overcome his adversaries. Now, as we've established, the utopia of the Big Lebowski is a fraudulent, false utopia. In the true utopia of the People's Republic of F, it would be me, your glorious leader, General Secretary F, who knew everything that was going on in Jeff Bridges' life. It would be me watching over Jeff Bridges and ensuring that everything worked out for him. Jeff Bridges wouldn't have needed to face off against the Big Lebowski, the German kidnappers, and Ben Gazzara and his thugs, because I'd have sent them to the Arctic labor camps for re-education. Still though, we can read Sam Elliott in this film as analogous to me. Buscemi, the highest incarnation of revolutionary comradeship, the guarantee of the people's unification. Your glorious leader, General Secretary F.
Then, Jeff Bridges gets the girl, as they say. Julianne Moore shows up at his apartment and sleeps with him. But it's not for fun and games, it turns out. Julianne Moore wants a child. She does not, however, want a partner, nor does she want the father to be someone she'll have to see socially or who'll have any interest in raising the child himself. Jeff Bridges is the perfect father for Julianne Moore's child, then. But while they're together, she tells Jeff Bridges that her father doesn't have any money. The wealth all belonged to Julianne Moore's late mother.
I'll recall that Julianne Moore is the Big Lebowski's daughter, Colonel, so her late mother was the Big Lebowski's wife.
Yes, sir. So the Big Lebowski isn't rich. He lives in his ex-wife's mansion and off of an allowance that Julianne Moore provides for him. To get the ransom money to pay off the kidnappers, the Big Lebowski embezzled $1 million from a charity that Julianne Moore put him in charge of. So Jeff Bridges finally solves the case. Who stood to gain from the disappearance of that ransom money? The Big Lebowski did. The briefcase he gave Jeff Bridges to deliver to the kidnappers didn't have the $1 million in it. The Big Lebowski kept the $1 million for himself and tried to pin the theft of the money on Jeff Bridges. And in fact, Tara Reid hadn't even been kidnapped. She'd left town to visit friends for a few days without telling the Big Lebowski, and the nihilist German techno-pop band Kidnappers faked the kidnapping to try to get themselves rich. The tow they'd sent to the Big Lebowski belonged to one of their girlfriends. Jeff Bridges and John Goodman don't get out of it unscathed, however, or at least their bowling team doesn't. The German nihilist techno-pop band, who turned out not to be kidnappers after all, still think Jeff Bridges has the $1 million ransom. They confront Jeff Bridges' bowling team outside the alley, demanding the money, and a fight ensues. John Goodman beats the nihilists up, but during the fight, Steve Buscemi has a heart attack and dies.
The Coens killed Steve Buscemi in 3 of their films, Miller's Crossing, Fargo, and here in The Big Lebowski. Somehow, Steve Buscemi is the counter-revolutionary who must be purged from their films. At first, we might be surprised by this, Colonel. Steve Buscemi is congenial and mild-mannered in The Big Lebowski. But you see, that's how the counter-revolutionaries operate. They're quiet, subverting and corrupting our communes by night, while they pose as revolutionaries by day. If the counter-revolutionaries were blatant and obvious as enemies of the state, Colonel, they wouldn't be so seductive.
There's an hilarious scene towards the end in which Jeff Bridges and John Goodman take Steve Buscemi's ashes out to the Pacific to scatter them in the ocean. The wind is blowing in the wrong direction, though, so John Goodman dumps the ashes all over Jeff Bridges. Jeff Bridges finally loses his temper over all John Goodman's boorish faux pas throughout the story.
John Goodman's mistakes, his blunders, his gaffes.
But they make up and go bowling, getting ready to compete for the semifinals. Sam Elliott is there again at the bowling alley. He gives us a narrative epilogue to wrap the film.
Jeff Bridges and John Goodman didn't seem to like Steve Buscemi or even want him around, except that he was a good bowler for their team. Every time Steve Buscemi tried to talk to Jeff Bridges and John Goodman in the film, they either ignored him or John Goodman told him, "Shut the fuck up, Steve Buscemi." But I think that's because Jeff Bridges and John Goodman intuitively sensed that Steve Buscemi was a counter-revolutionary. They never uncovered his ties to the West or exposed his plans to bring down their communal utopia. But still, they could tell that Steve Buscemi was the enemy, just as I can always identify my enemies here in the People's Republic of F. So The Big Lebowski ends on a note of optimism, Colonel. Our heroes purged their society of a subversive enemy in Steve Buscemi, just like I purged the PRF of our enemies. So many bourgeois sympathizers for me to root out. Sometimes I think that I'm spending so much of my time cleansing the PRF of traitors, I won't have any time left to run our farms and factories. But then I remember that I'm not just your leader, I am your glorious leader, and the people shall work tirelessly to enact my vision.
This has been The Art of Cinema with our glorious leader, General Secretary F. Let us maintain vigilance against the ever-looming threat of an American invasion. You are required to report any non-participation or dissent amongst your comrades. Don't forget to tune in to The Art of Cinema again next time to find out which film from the 1990s is ranked at number 2 in your next mandatory re-education session.